Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, I'm Sarmila. Today is my final test and I will review 5 chapter materials from book Theory Culture by Philip Smith and what the lesson learned from the materials. Okay, I will start it. The first is chapter 7, the post-structural term. Post-structuralism is best understood as a revelation and outgrowth of structuralism rather than as an opposing school of thought. Certainly, it is the case that contemporary post-structural thought would not have been possible without the earlier innovation of structuralism. Whilst simplistic binary distinction between structuralism and post-structuralism abound, it is far from clear how useful they are. The lesson learned from post-structural turn is, in this sense, post-structuralist theory maintains that power is not merely held, but that is also a form of either consent or resistance, there be multidirectional in the ways it influences all parties. The second is chapter 8, Culture, Structure, and Agency, 3 attempts at synthesis. First is Bourdieu. Bourdieu sees cultural capital as a dimension of a broader habitus and therefore as reflecting the social location of its possessor. His survey research demonstrated that particular classes and occupational groups in French society tend to have distinctive tastes in music, art, food, and so on. Anthony Giddens' theory of structuration is widely held to present one of the most influential efforts to overcome the division of micro and macro through an appreciation of the role of culture in social life. His distinctive approach is best expressed in Tile Constitution of Society. Giddens suggests that action and structure models are equally flawed. Norbert Elias, like Bourdieu and Giddens, Norbert Elias sees the self as a key tool for the origin agency in cultural theory. His approach in historical and traces the way that the modern self has developed over the centuries when comparing texts from various centuries. The lesson learned from chapter 8 is Bourdieu conceptualization is grounded in theories of social reproduction and symbolic power. Bourdieu's work emphasized structural constraints and unequal access to institutional research based on class, gender, and race. Giddens argued that just as an individual's autonomy is influenced by structure, structures are maintained and adapted through the exercise of agency. The interface at which an actor meets and a structure is termed structuration. Elias' theory focused on the relationship between power, behavior, emotion, and knowledge over time. He significantly shaped what is called process of figurational sociology due to historical circumstances. The third is Chapter 9, British Cultural Studies. They argued that the study of culture should be all about the examination of great works of high culture, popular culture, value-neutral study of mass culture. They found the existing approaches to the study of culture had little resonance with the concerns and values of middle-aged and working-class students. The lesson learned from Chapter 9 is British Cultural Studies is a comprehensive introduction to the British tradition of culture studies, accessible overview of the central themes that have informed British cultural studies: language, semiotic, Marxism and ideology, individualism, subjective and discourse. Culture study in general allows us to understand how the different cultures come about. Next is Chapter 10, the production and reception of culture. Theoretical interest in the production and reception of culture can be traced back to communication research in the middle decades of the 20th century. A receiver and a message in particular, there has been considerable debate about the relative power of the sender and the receiver to determine the meaning of message. Lesson learned from chapter 10 is the production of culture. Perspective focuses on how the symbolic elements of culture are shaped by the system within which they are created, distributed, evaluated, taught, and preserved. The last is chapter 11, Culture as the Text, Narrative, and Hermeneutics. When structuralists approach the analysis of narrative, especially conventional stories and literature, their activity is often given the name of structuralized poetics. The central theme here is often not to so much binary opposition, but rather plot, character, and genre. Advocates of the approach see it as a step toward a more scientific approach to literature. The lesson learned from the last chapter is the approach of structuralized poetics, exemplified by Propp and Frey, has a number of strong suites. From a sociological point of view, it offers powerful evidence for understanding narrative as social facts which are subject to laws and empirical regularities of which authors and readers may be unaware. This allows for the possibility of constructing general theories and powerful analytic models with which to explore meaning in text. Okay, that is the last material. And after knowing and getting lessons from cultural theory, then I will look for concrete example and look for more materials of culture theory to be studied in order to better understand it. Okay, I think enough for my review materials. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed to watch it and I do apologize for my mistake. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.